Welcome back. This is Tim Harris, and the lovely lady also appearing with me is Julie Harris, my wife for the last 34 years. Is that right?
Yeah, I know. Yes.
Yes. And this is your favorite daily real estate coaching and training podcast. And the topic of today's podcast is Stop Dreaming, Start Earning, the Real Estate Goal Setting Guide. I'm going to start out by reading this quote from our president, Donald Trump. If you're going to be thinking anything, you might as well be thinking big. And that's from Donald Trump. And I think that actually is a really perfect quote to start out today's show with. And if we offended you because we are being political, forget who said it and just remember the words. I'll read it to you again. If you're going to be thinking anything, you might as well be thinking big. And that is true. And it's funny, Julie, I'm actually having someone's voice in my head as I was saying that. I have a new, I'll even say his first name since he was just texting with me. Dominic, I won't say your
Hmm.
last name, who is making his goals. Real estate treasure map. I had him do from the first call to the second goal is real estate treasure map, and he was setting his goals. And we're
Hmm.
talking about his goals on our one of our last elite coaching calls. And he read his goals to me and he stopped himself and he said, am I think I'm thinking too small, or I must be thinking too small, or am I thinking too small? Some variety of
Hmm.
that. And if you know you're thinking too small by probably half, if not a lot more than that. In other words, you could be accomplishing, if you know that you're thinking too small, something innate within you knows that you could be doing probably 5 or 10x more than what you're doing. And then another thing is another way to know if you're thinking too small is if you're setting goals that are much more than 6 months or 12 months out, because what'll have people have a tendency who think too small, you think the exact opposite is true. It's not. So what they'll do is they'll say, well, this is my 24-month goal. This is my 5-year goal. Well, here's a suggestion for you. Take your 5-year goal and let's figure out how to cut it back to the essence of what's really the most important thing about that goal. And let's do it in the next 12 months. Now, if we
Hmm.
have to accomplish that goal in the next 12 months, what do we have to be doing? What's the action plan? What's the accountability around accomplishing it? This is some of the types of conversations we have in elite coaching. If you guys are interested at all in the highest level of coaching we offer, it's only with Julia or myself. It's called Elite Coaching. Text me directly at 512-758-0206. And I have an exciting announcement. We are going to start a new YouTube series, a podcast YouTube series called My Journey. And what it's going to do is we're going to interview, not all of our elite coaching clients agreed to it, but I think probably half of them will end up agreeing to do it, where they're going to be featured on this podcast every single month, answering the same 5 or 6 questions. And those 5 or 6 questions are written in such a way that they can share with you their progress, not just with elite coaching, but also in their business and their personal life. So we're going to start doing those in the next week or so. I'm really looking forward to those interviews, but I'm really looking forward to the interviews with those same people in 6 months, because you will see massive growth with most of them. It was funny. I had to talk a couple of them into doing it. And it wasn't because they didn't want to be on our podcast. It wasn't because they didn't want to, be interviewed. It's because they didn't want the accountability. They
That's
signed,
right.
they signed up for elite coaching. But then when I say, okay, we're going to be doing this where you're going to be stating what your goals are, and then I'm going to be checking in with you in front of, tens of thousands of people once a month, and you're going to be reporting back as to whether or not you actually accomplish their goals. That's when they had to start realizing, or they
Yeah.
started to realize that elite coaching is really about accomplishing your goals at the highest level. And yes, it is. My journey is a great, I think, documentary of your own progress, but really the hidden agenda behind it is truly the accountability. Because I know that if you are going to be talking about the fact that you decided to take 10 listings in the next 30 days or whatever your goal is, and you will not just take 10, you'll take like 15 just so you can let the world know you exceeded your goal. That's what elite coaching is. That's just an element of it. If you are ready for elite coaching, text me directly at 512-758-0206. All right, Julie, let's jump right in. Stop dreaming, start earning, the real estate goal setting guide. Let's go.
All right. So back to that quote. If you're going to be thinking anything, you might as well think big. Well, are you thinking big enough? Ask yourself that question. Are you thinking really big? Getting into real estate was one of the smartest decisions you've ever made, whether you got licensed yesterday, last year, maybe some of you it was decades ago. Why? Because real estate opens the door to personal freedom, financial independence, unlimited growth. You choose to unlock it. So, we're going to start quickly by reminding you that you have absolutely zero excuses. Why, you made a brilliant move when you joined this business. And then we're going to shift our focus into some specific goal setting. keeping in mind that this is a podcast. This is not your coaching call. This is not your one-on-one coaching call. This is not even premier coaching. This is exposing you from a very high level, 30,000 feet. This is a little flavor of how we go about goal setting. So first, we often start with some mindset checks. Okay. Why is this a huge blessing that you're in real estate? We're going to do this fast. Number one, there is no income gap. I'm sorry, income cap. There is no income cap like it is with a quote normal job. Your skills are portable. You can sell real estate anywhere literally in the world. You don't have to buy your own inventory like you do if you were running a business, a grocery store, a car dealership. You don't have to pay for your inventory. You
But
do have
Julie,
to list.
but Julie, more more to the point though, is you
Mhm.
can move from one market to the other. You
Yes.
can move to one part of the country or the other. In our EXP Realty group, for example, I mean, EXP Realty is in 26 different countries. And a lot of the folks that join with Julie and I at EXP are doing so because they want to be aligned with us as far as their coaching, their coaching journey as well. And it's very fascinating how many of them, I would say we have probably 25% that are joining with us because they've been up and down the mountain of buying leads and the branding and the marketing and the whatever, and they're finally ready to earn money and build wealth and be rich where their money works for them and they no longer have to work for their money. One of the side benefits of that is when you learn how to be a proactive lead generator, when you learn our 7-step listing process, when you learn the things necessary, you then can move to any part of the country you want to. So you give yourself not only no income cap, but you give yourself no geographic boundary if you actually know how to proactively lead generate and you're a consistent generator of listing appointments and listing leads. You can start out in Ohio like we did. You can move out to Laguna Beach, California, like we did. You can live in Las Vegas like we did. You can live in Austin, Texas like we did. You can live in Puerto Rico like we did, and other places around the country as well, because skills are transferable. That's what we teach.
It's a huge blessing. And you make me think about some of our coaching clients who have done that for different reasons. Sometimes it's an intentional move because they've always wanted to leave the snow and they want to be in a higher end market. They want to look at the ocean. Other times, and I've had a lot of these elite coaching clients personally, where their spouse is relocated with their job fairly routinely. Some of them with the military, others of them with different corporate jobs. Go and get your real estate license in your new city and you're not unemployed.
This is point number two. Realize that.
Yeah.
Point number two is your skills are portable. So I'm
Yes.
gonna tell a story with that. So
Sure.
point number two is skills are portable. All right. So Julie and I are living. This is PZ. It's what we call pre-Zoe, and we're living in Las Vegas. We still have our condos on the Strip, and we were living in Laguna Beach. And we had a condo in Laguna Beach that was right above the Montage, if you guys know where that is. So we were living in both places simultaneously. No boundaries. We could live wherever we wanted to live. And Julie decided she wanted to get a real estate license. Well, we had a lot of friends in Laguna Beach. Julie was playing in the Orange County Orchestra. So she had all these connections and she figured, well, why don't I just get a real estate license that I can just, pick up the occasional whatever. So we ended up taking 1 week off after she got her license. The market had started to change. It was starting to become a market where underwater sellers were common, where agents were letting listings expire. This is like late 07, if you guys can remember. And so agents didn't know how to deal with underwater owners. The market was quickly coming apart. Now when we sold real estate and from having coached agents for years, we knew exactly what to do in a market like that where sellers were underwater. We knew how to do short sales. We knew how to do all that. So guess what we did? We took a week off from our normal life, and we actually started prospecting. And we had not prospected, proactively lead generated at that point, probably in a number of years. We had retired full-time from selling real estate like 5 or 6 years prior to that, I think. Is that right? Do you remember that?
Okay. And we were coaching full-time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we started, we got on the phone and we started calling expired listings. And in that month, so we were able to set so many listing appointments. And remember, we had not prospected in forever. So many listing appointments from expired listings at the time. And Julie was only at this office for 3 or 4 months, the Keller Williams office you were with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She was the agent of the month. And we'd only gone to that office once for her.
I could barely find the office.
We knew where it was. So she was the agent of the month. But the point is we hadn't prospected since we lived in Ohio. We decided, we were coaching full-time for 5 or 6 years. We go back to actually working the phones, working expired.
Same scripts, same questions, same objections, same closing scripts. Yeah.
In a market that we did not really know, in a market where we had no social or personal connections, in a market where we were taking listings. We took a listing, 2 listings from an actor that lived in Long Beach. Remember him?
Yep.
He was a soap opera actor. He
I think it
gave.
was Big Sur Drive or Big Surf Drive, something like that. Yeah.
Yep. And so we listed his condo there. He had another one in North Hollywood. We
Yeah.
listed that one. And then we listed some others just around just by calling.
I remember that I mistakenly set an appointment where I thought that the seller knew more English and I knew more Spanish. And then I started thinking, maybe that's a step too far. I need to polish my Spanish up before we do
Well, that's when we
half
start
bilingual
calling.
appointments.
That's when we started calling Inland Empire a little bit. But
Exactly.
but so what happened? Why didn't we stay with it? Because we knew how to essentially do short sales and the rest of it. And so at the same time, we were, making sure we hadn't lost our edge, frankly. The short sale training business just went through the roof. And so
Yeah.
we had to make a choice where to put our time. We've just focused on short sale training. We are the nation's largest and the first short sale training organization. And yeah, so that was way back when. That's a history lesson in Tim and Julie. But the point of it is in that 1 month of prospecting, just expired listings, we didn't even keep track. We knew the listings we sold, but we really didn't keep track of how much money we earned, or Julie through her license earned. It was over 100 grand that we generated in that 1 week from going out and listing expireds and then putting them in the MLS, pricing right, condition, the whole thing. No marketing, no branding, no market penetration. Nobody knew who we were. We just knew what to say and we knew how to say it. That's how you know we're not full of shit.
And also demonstrating our point that your skills are portable.
Yep.
We've had clients that sell real estate in Europe. They've moved cross country. Sometimes you just move cross town to raise your average sale price. The world is your oyster. So that goes to being really clear on what a blessing your real estate license is. Also, everyone needs a place to live. You are involved in an industry where people are talking about it and, conversing with their friends all the time, every day.
All
Housing
right,
is
Nick.
always on people's minds. So that's a blessing. Go ahead.
Next point is you don't have to buy inventory. You're not stocking shelves, investing in products. Your inventory exists already. So I gave you an example. Like, I want you to, Julie touched on this before, just conceptually wrap your mind around this, because if you do, if it clicks with you, it'll really change your life. In every business that you would get into, whether you're selling Ginsu knives or whether you're selling, it doesn't matter what, a pie shop, right? You have to buy inventory. You have fixed costs that often consume 70, 80% of your actual revenue just to run the business. In real estate, think about what I'm about to say. You can have millions and millions of dollars of business, tens of millions of dollars, in inventory in the form of listings that you don't own, that you don't pay anything for every month, and you make a margin on when they sell. And then you can obviously make profit off the ancillary business that comes from those listings, be it other buyers or other listings. There is no other business, other consignment businesses, that would be something similar. But even if you were, you had a consignment high-end car lot or consignment plane business, you still have to have places to store all these things. With real estate, unlike everything else, there is no cost of overhead. That's a blessing. So if you think that you can only, like if you're putting yourself in the confines of not realizing what unlimited potential there is in real estate, what do we just do? You could sell it anywhere. Your skills are transferable and you don't have to pay anything to start your business. You can literally start your business with just the cost of your real estate license and your startups, and that's the extent of it. And don't believe that you have to essentially pass through the fiery burning eye of Modor. Did I get that one right?
Think so.
Yeah, before you're allowed to start taking listings. That's absolutely not
No.
true. Click the link below to learn more about Premier Coaching. Julie, let's go to the next point, which is everybody needs a place to live. You said that one already. Next point after that, housing is always on people's minds.
Yes, they're always talking about it all the time. One of the things we talk about with our elite clients is when you're already making calls, ask them who else they know who needs your help buying or selling real estate, because when they're transactional, they're talking to all of their friends all the time. So these are just the blessings that you have as a real estate agent. Again, our topic today is about goal setting at a higher level. So we started out by removing all of your objections. You have no excuses but to set high goals. As we said at the top, think bigger. You can accomplish anything using real estate as your platform. So let's move on to the 5 areas of life that we use in coaching. This is also in your real estate treasure map. It's in the Harris Rules book. We do this with 100% of our coaching clients, whether you're involved. Sorry, there's a mosquito landing on my head. Whether you are in Premier Coaching or Elite Coaching. And you can get these from the newsletter or you can jot them down. Goals in 5 areas of life: family, financial, physical, mental or spiritual, and educational. Back to you, Tim.
Well, that's the point. Really, the treasure map, which you can get for free when you join Premier Coaching, just go to premiercoaching.com. The first level of Premier Coaching is the real estate treasure map. That's our maybe not so fancy name for our fill in the blank real estate business plan. I talked about it earlier when Dominic had sent me his goals and questioned whether he was thinking large enough. That's because he'd completed the real estate treasure map. So make sure you're doing the treasure map. And I'm going to give you guys a little advanced coaching tip here. Do not think you have to have goals in every one of these categories, because you don't. Depending on what stage of life you're in, you might find family and financial more important right now than, for example, maybe mental, spiritual. And as you get older, that might shift. So be okay with not having balance, because balance is a myth. It's one of the greatest destroyers of potential, because people are spending way too much time looking for balance. And then one of the places that'll manifest is trying to have an equal number of goals under everything. Oh, I had a great year, best year ever, lost a bunch of weight, saved a bunch of money, did all these other things, but I didn't spend enough time reading. I guess next year I'll try to do better. No, you just had a great year. You know, give yourself a little grace here and accept the fact that, again, at different stages of life, different things will be important to you. Next point, when you're trying to think bigger, and this is a great point for Julie, what makes a smart goal? So set smart goals. We talked about life areas to set smart goals. So what makes a smart goal? What does SMART actually stand for, Julie?
Okay, so until you have applied the SMART aspect, it spells SMART. That stands for each of your goals have to be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. And we're going to do a financial example right after this, just so that they've got this in their heads. Because if you haven't done this, it's just a dream. It's just, as you would say, a fart in the wind. It's just something you're thinking about. Hey, it'd be really nice to save more money. It'd be nice to lose weight. It would be awesome to be more nutritional with my diet. That's just a thought. What turns it into a goal, what turns a dream into a goal, is to make it a SMART goal: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. Okay, so we can talk about that, but I want to go to the real life example, Tim, if you go to your next page there.
Yep,
How
go
to
for
make
it.
something smart. So,
By the way, unusually a large number of notes for today's Julie, for the
sorry,
podcast that Julie created. It's like 7 pages. Oh my gosh, Julie, why don't you just make this into a book?
we did. This is a
Oh,
short version.
okay, got it. Oh, you got these notes from Harris Rules. Got it. You did, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yes. So yes, if you want the notes, just subscribe to harrisrealestatedaily.com. It's our newsletter. It's free. Just go to harrisrealestatedaily.com and subscribe to the newsletter, and you can get all these notes. All right, Julie Harris, go with your example.
Okay, so a dream, it's not yet a goal. But the dream is, I want to save more money. Every single person, probably, practically all of you listening, I want to save more money. I've never had a coaching client. I don't know about you, Tim. I want to save less money. I need to be blowing more this year. No, you want to save more money. That's
I've
the
had
dream.
one.
Have you had one?
I've had one, and I'll tell you who it is. Rob.
Oh, well, that's different. Rob is good at that.
Rob came to us as already a decade
Already
millionaire.
wealthy.
Yeah.
That's true.
So that would be the one.
Kudos to him. Yes. Okay. So a real life example is, I want to save more money. Okay. So a goal is being specific. I'm going to save $50,000 by December 31st. That's making it timely. That represents 6 months of reserves based on $10,000 of monthly expenses. So it's not just this nebulous more money. I know it's getting dark out, isn't it?
It is.
I
I
know.
was just
And my
noticing
background's darkening because there's a storm coming, not
Yeah.
because my lights are out.
When
Okay. So anyway, we get distracted. All right. So we're being very specific. So why? Okay. More money. How much more money? Why? It's based on something. 6 months of reserves based on 10,000 in monthly expenses, or adjust accordingly. Maybe you want to have 5 years of reserves, but the plan is very specific and timely. Close 18 deals this year. 12 of those will cover my basic expenses, but I need an additional 6 to actually save that $10,000 per month for 6 months to get to my $60,000 of reserves, which are based on something, not based on nothing. Does that make sense?
it does, but I mean,
smart.
so what Julie said. So let's just amp it up to $100,000.
Sure.
You want to save 100,000 or just whatever you want 100 grand for, and you want to do it after taxes, let's say. So what we would do is and we're just going to make a specific goal parameters, or a plan around that specific goal. So you could learn this in the real estate treasure map. There's your personal overhead, your personal nut, your business nut, your taxes, and your debt savings, and then debt repayment. So there's different categories of things you have to earn money in. And it's really, really important that, opposed to just picking a number, I want to earn $300,000. You actually go into the treasure map and you write down specifically what your actual expenses are, because intellectually, your emotions are going to tie in with your thoughts, and then your behaviors are going to it's going to be easier for you to do the behavior to accomplish the goal versus I just want to earn $300,000, but there's no logic behind it.
You won't do it. I think you would agree with that, Tim. We've never had a coaching client actually do it if they didn't have that logic built in behind it.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And so that's the main thing. So if you say, for example, I want to save $100,000, Julie said in her example was, well, let's just do an extra transaction every month. That's a strategy. Or you could simply say, I'm going to start saving out the top of every commission check. I'm going to start saving 10%, 20%, 30%, depending on how all your other numbers work out. And then that money is going to be forced saved into an account, or, you're not going to be speculating with it with Bitcoin or anything. You're just going to save it into cash. Or maybe you put it in the S&P 500 or something like that. You guys get it? So a goal is a dream with an action plan. It has to be measured, written down regularly. But the most important thing is everybody sets goals. Or frankly, that's not true. Not everybody sets goals. Most people don't set goals, but the people who do set goals very rarely have action plans behind them. Or they set goals with action plans behind them, but they really don't give a crap about that goal because they're trying to say they're fulfilling or accomplishing a goal that somebody else set for them, which is a very common thing because you guys haven't got the root of really what you want in life. And I'm not saying there's a big why or anything like that, because your big whys will change depending what time of day it is. But the moral of the story is oftentimes you're on a quest to accomplish something that maybe 5 years ago was really important to you, but it's not important to you now because you've gotten older, because you have life experience. And so you got to give yourself some permission to change what your goal is and modify it along the way. Because here's really what the true magic is. The accomplishment of the goal, there's lots of exceptions, frankly, but for the most part, the fulfillment of reaching or accomplishing a goal is nothing like the fulfillment of becoming the person that accomplished the goal. In other words, people talk about this all the time, but it's very true. The journey is where the magic is, not the arrival. And that's always true. So
100%.
The whole point really of accomplishing goals is because you see and feel yourself in action, working towards something, which is your natural state, by the way. All of us are designed by God to be moving forward to the accomplishment of something. If you want to, design a misery into your life, here's what all you have to do is try to become complacent where you're not trying to improve in different areas of your life. That will for sure make you miserable. So assuming you're in alignment with your highest and truest purpose, which is being of service to other people, and you're in the real estate business, the moving forward should be becoming the best version of yourself as a real estate practitioner, which would mean all the things we talk about in this podcast, all the things we talk about in coaching, all the things that we want you to absorb into your hearts and your souls as a calling. In other words, if you can essentially set SMART goals for yourself, sounds like a selfish thing, right? Accomplishing a goal, but it's not. It's a giving thing, not just to you and your immediate circle, your loved ones, but also to everyone around you. Because if you are on a quest to save $100,000 or lose 30 pounds, you're becoming a beacon for other people to follow. Oh my gosh, look at Bob. He's lost a lot of weight. Bob doesn't, I'll give you another little secret here. When you're trying to accomplish a goal, don't broadcast it. Don't tell anyone, maybe your spouse, don't tell anyone. One of the surest predictors, and the psychology behind this is interesting. We won't bother with it. But one of the easiest ways to predict whether someone's going to accomplish or someone's not going to accomplish, if they broadcast what their goal is. So if you see someone broadcasting what their goal is on social or whatever, guaranteed they're not going to actually accomplish it.
Very unlikely. Very unlikely.
And the only psychological explanation for that seems to make sense is because when people go and say, I'm going to lose 30 pounds, they get a whole bunch of interesting feedback. Oh, you look great. You don't need to lose weight.
You get talked out of it, literally.
Yeah. And this is the logic. This is the part that makes the most sense to me, is you get the psychological payoff of having accomplished the goal before you actually start on the journey. Because all these people are going to be saying, oh, go Bob, go, you can do it. That's fantastic. Go for your goal. And all this love and support comes in before you even have left the station. And that oftentimes will satiate your desire for recognition for having accomplished something to the point where you won't do it. So
it's demotivational.
It is. So, which is interesting because you'd think the opposite is true, but it's not. So just keep all these things in mind. Julie, let's go to the next point.
Yes. Okay. So again, this is a podcast. This is not your coaching. Okay. We're just exposing you to the top level of how we get started on this. And certainly in the treasure map and in premier coaching and elite coaching, we do the deep dive. We ask you to be introspective. Why do you want that thing for you to own it? So for the sake of the podcast, I just wrote the goal alignment self check. Are you following your SMART goals? It's not just jotting down a few things that you like to have. Actually take the time to apply the SMART technique. If you're somebody that's got to lose 10 pounds or 20 pounds, whatever, and maybe you've had that as your New Year's resolution for the past 15 years. What are you doing about it? So is it SMART? We talked about that. So your 48-hour challenge, I wrote down because we like to give them homework on the podcast, right?
Well,
No more.
Julie, do SMART, right? Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. Some of you are going to be offended by, and not offended in the truest sense, but offended by the word attainable. And and again, I want you to really drill down on that. There are specific goals that you're going to set for yourself or think, oh, that's obtainable. No one's going to talk me out of that. It might be attainable in like a million years, or maybe you want
like a financial goal that's a really big goal, because remember we talked.
I'll disagree with you on that one. I think financial goals are the easiest ones to accomplish.
I'm just saying, if somebody is used to earning 100,000 a year and they say they want to make $1 million next year,
now
give yourself the grace to do it in 2 years instead of 6 months.
I will still respectfully, with love, disagree with you because let me give you a better example, right?
Okay.
For example, I'm 5'9". If I wanted to play in the NBA, that ain't happening.
Well, okay, so realistic.
That is that's
not realistic.
That's not an obtainable goal. Well, I'll tell you, if I was making 100,000 and I wanted to go to $1 million, I can tell you how to do it in less than a minute. Would you like to hear me talk?
Sure.
Okay, I would move to an expensive area where there's a lot of expireds, and I'd start hunting expireds, and I would pick up for $1 million. And my average commission was $30,000 gross. And for me to earn $1 million, how many houses would I have to sell? I do the math backwards, and that's all I would do.
That's fair. And you know what? It's funny. In today's real estate market, you have a lot more leeway to be able to do that because they're blessed with a really rockin' average sale price out of the hatch, right?
So look at Dan Lesniak, okay? So Dan Lesniak is part of our EXP Realty group. And he was worried that he was losing some of his listing skills. He had never learned how to proactively lead generate. So he asked me to help him go after expireds. And I didn't even really coach him for that long. I coached him for maybe 3 months. And then it was all 100% about nothing else other than picking up the phone, calling it expireds. And I'm not making this up. He's got now 7 or 8 active listings. His average sale, he only wanted to go after expensive expireds. Him and Carrie listed one for, I don't even remember how much. Basically they're on track to earn over $100,000 a month in just listing commissions.
That's awesome.
And right, exactly. And that's just from him calling expireds.
Okay, so let me put a caveat on this because I agree with you, okay, that it is realistic assuming that your other things are in alignment. It's realistic for them because they were coachable, because they're applying the other things like being timely, being very specific. When you're specific and you identify what it is that you've got to go after, how many listings, at what average sale price, at what commission, then it does become realistic. You can't have one without the other, right?
Well, I will challenge you on that one too, because we did not realistically have all the things that we created in our lifelines. We had to leave our marketplace. We had to move across the country. We had to morph into different people.
As some of our listeners would have to obtain their goals. Exactly.
So you might not ever be able to find, Julie, you and I have this conversation. I remember when we moved full-time to Austin, we were in Georgetown. And I remember you and I were elbow to elbow with people that, had they been in different environments, would have been absolute freaking rock stars. You remember that?
Sure. Yep. We still have those experiences here in Murphy too.
We do. And we run into people frequently. They'll be in their 20s. And I here in this little cabin that we stay at in the summer, I remember there was a guy that came over. He was out of the military. He was in his early 20s. He had studied to be an electrician. And this guy, he worked with his dad. I remember now. Honestly, I was so impressed with him. And this guy was so smart. He was so great with his mannerisms, so polite, motivated. He was really inspiring for me. And he was an electrician. He wasn't even in the real estate business. And I remember thinking to myself, if this kid, and he was a kid, was in Southern California, the average sale price is $2 million, or even Manhattan, or down in, freaking Miami, or just wherever, Monaco, he would own that damn town. So a lot of times, and I didn't say anything like that to him because I'm sure he's going to be very successful with his, natural wit and talent here in, rural Appalachia. But the reality of it is a lot of times the opportunity that you want in life is not going to be able to be found in your own market, and you're going to have to move. And Julie and I, when we were selling real estate, we were selling normal meat and potatoes houses. And we got sick of selling 100 to 200 houses per year because right across town, not too far away, was the average sale price that was like 5 or 6x what we were selling. We knew our skills would be transferable, and sure enough, they were. And we were able to sell fewer houses and make more money
Yeah.
net income to us, right? So
Same
you might
skills, 5 times the money. That would be smart. Defining the
exactly.
SMART goals,
But
right?
but also,
Yeah.
Julie, sometimes it's not just location or environment. Sometimes it's the environment of who you're around, who the people are,
For sure.
who you're listening to as far as coaching and mentoring, the people you're exposing your mind and your
It
soul
can be
to.
your office too. You know, we've had
Totally.
coaching clients come to us that say that they're getting absolutely nothing from their brokerage or their team leader for whatever reason, that it's all negative all the time and nobody's selling anything and it's normal to only hit 50% of your listing presentations. That's not normal. That's not okay. If that's what you're hearing and it brings you down and that's not the environment for you, you've got to make the change.
Well, that's a lot of the reason why so many people are joining EXP with us, Julie. And a lot of these agents are, frankly, I think we're at the bottom of the housing market, been there for 2 or 3 years,
In terms of a number of sales slump. Yeah.
Yeah, in terms of number of sales, I mean, the average agent at EXP sells between in the United States, sells between 5 or 6 homes per year. And that's pretty damn good if you ask me, considering that 71% of all agents last year sold 0 houses.
Yeah.
There's a lot of agents that are saying, I realized what you and Julie are saying, that this is the beginning stages of what's going to be a 25-year real estate boom. I want to be part of that. And my current brokerage or my current situation, my current environment's not going to be conducive to me accomplishing these goals. I want to change. Tell me more about EXP. And I think that's the reason that we've had literally hundreds of agents that are joining with us every year at EXP Realty. And if you're ready for a broker upgrade, or frankly, if you're a broker and you're ready for a brokerage upgrade, let's have the conversation. Text me at 512-758-0206, 512-758-0206, and let me know a little bit about yourself, and let's continue that conversation about EXP Realty. In the meantime, I know you want these notes. All you've got to do is go to harrisrealestatedaily.com and subscribe. The newsletter is free. It'll take you 2 seconds to do it. In the meantime, thank you for keeping this the #1 daily real estate coaching and training podcast for real estate agents in the United States. Have a fantastic day. We'll talk with you on the show tomorrow.